and years and years, and a lot of people that are new to us. And we are the Matskos.
Can you see?
Okay.
Down, okay. It's okay to sit in the front
Yeah.
row, everybody.
So
Anybody wants to come down.
I taught chemistry and physics at Bob Jones University for 39 years. And I retired from the classroom in May. And my lovely assistant here retired a year ago. And so we're on the road, and we call ourselves the Bob Jones University Science Ambassador. And we've been on the road since August, and we made sure that as we worked our way around the country, we'd end up here at Christmas time so we could stay with Crystal in Lovegrove, our daughter, and our son-in-law Tim, and our grandchildren. And so we had an ulterior motive there. And we, what we're going to do is we've done this program. We do this for primary age children primarily, but we're doing this to, today I want to do it so you can see what we do, so you can pray for us as we continue on the road this next semester. And so this is kind of a hybrid. It's for the kids, but also for the adults as well, so you can see that what we do along the way. So I'm going to turn it over to my lovely assistant here.
So you can see the title. It's back to the first page, if you would go back there. The title of our program is God's Unseen Creation Revealed in Science. Now, this program came about because of our 23 summers going to Australia with the mission teams. We could go into the public schools, and we could give the gospel freely and openly. But the children in Australia, they have no idea any stories in the Bible, anything about the Bible, about Jesus. So we had to go back to the beginning. So we went to creation, and we talked about the days of creation and some of God's unseen properties that are revealed. When we think of creation, we think of what we can see, the trees, the people and animals and trees and mountains. But God created a lot of unseen things as well to make everything work that's around. And that's what we're going to talk about as we talk about the days of creation. So the first verse in the Bible, you all say it with me, Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Now, from science, we know that everything happens because something made it happen. God made the entire universe out of nothing just by speaking it into existence. But nothing made God. God has always existed. The Bible tells us that he had no beginning and he'll have no end. He existed even before time itself. Now, a long time ago, not millions and billions of years ago, just thousands of years ago, there was nothing. There was no earth, no moon, no sun, no trees, no flowers, no birds, no animals, not even any people. There was nothing except for God. And at first, everything was black, just darkness, empty blackness. And we read in Genesis 1:3 that on that first day of creation, in a mighty powerful voice, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Now, when I say light, what's the first thing that comes to your mind, most of you? Not the lights up here, but what's outside? The sun. But the sun wasn't created till day 4. Uh-oh, is that a problem? Can we trust God? He says on day 1 we have light, but the sun wasn't created till day 4. Dr. Masco, could you explain that?
Yes, so when we talk about light being created on day 1, God created the entire electromagnetic spectrum. And you notice there's the part of light we can see here, the red and the orange and the yellow and the green and the blue. And our eyes are tuned to those frequencies of light. That's what our eyes can see. In fact, it's the same frequencies of light that the sun is tuned to. It gives out most of its radiation right there in the middle of the visible spectrum. It's almost like the same person who created our eyes created the sun, which of course is true. But there's a lot of light that God created on day 1 that we can't see. This is part of God's unseen creation. And we call that the electromagnetic spectrum. And so let's run through that real fast here. And we see, first of all, gamma rays at the high end here. So when we're thinking about gamma rays, we use those gamma rays to actually destroy cancerous tumors. We use it to heal people, those gamma rays. And then we had X-rays, and you know, kids, about the X-rays, how you can see your bones in your hands. When I was a kid, to show you how old I am, in shoe stores, they used to have x-ray machines. And one of the things we do, first thing we get to the shoe store, we run in and we'd stick our feet in the x-ray machine and look at the bones in our toes. So I tell people I grew up in a time when people hated children, okay? Because they allowed us to x-ray our own feet, okay? And can you imagine doing that today? And we had playgrounds where there was no soft surfaces, it was all metal and concrete and so forth. And when we went out to play, they just threw us out, made us go play, told us to come back when the lights came on. They didn't care about anybody stealing us or anything like that. So I figured they must have hated children back then. And,
This is next.
okay, and then we get to ultraviolet light. And let me do this. So I have an ultraviolet flashlight, and it has some beads that have photochromic chemicals in them. Okay, that means they absorb UV light. Now, if I was in a high school class, I talk about the structure of the molecule and how they're sp3 hybridized and how it breaks the bind to get sp2 hybridization and so forth. But on the younger level, we don't do that, and so we'll just reveal the hidden message here. Okay. Okay, and so you see BJU science. Okay? Okay, and so we bought these beads, and we thought, well, these beads are duds, these ones here that are white, and we called and complained to the company and said, there's something wrong with these beads, they're not turning color. And finally they said, did you take them out in the sun? Well, if you take them out in the sun puts out more ultraviolet, different frequencies of ultraviolet, and that's what it looks like if you take it out in the sun.
Big difference.
Okay, yeah, big difference between those two. And then, another part of God's unseen creation is the infrared.
You want to do this.
Oh, I didn't do that. Yes, let's do that. Thank you for reminding me.
My husband has these transition sunglasses. You know, kids, if you go out in the sun, these would automatically turn into sunglasses, which is really convenient. But
So I'll just put it here like that. You can see how it turns it really quickly. So the photochromic molecules they actually move mechanically, and so you can change the rate at which they change color by changing the hardness of the plastic that they're embedded in. That's kind of an interesting side feature there.
okay, you can go on.
Okay, so this is the infrared. So all of us give out light in the infrared. So if you went to a science museum, sometimes they'll take your picture with the infrared camera, and notice that the hot parts, the face and the arms here, they're the hot parts of the white, and the tips of the fingers are blue, that's the cool parts. And so all of us give out light. We give out infrared. And so we take the infrared light and we can make night vision goggles, so for the army men, when they're out in the field and they don't want to be ambushed by the enemy at night, they make night vision goggles that see in the infrared, so they can see people in the dark. All of us are giving out those infrared rays. And then microwaves, you know about microwaves. The microwaves make the little molecules spin faster and heat up our food. And then we have radio waves, which are the least energetic of the electromagnetic spectrum. So I wanted to demonstrate radio waves. When you think of radio waves, we think not just only of communication, radio and TV, but also the power that's in the building here. Well, this is what we call a ring launcher. And you say, what does a ring launcher do? A ring launcher launches rings. Okay? And I usually get the ladies in the audience, they say, well, what else does it do? And I say, it doesn't do anything else. It just launches rings. They think that's such a waste. But anyway, use it for teaching, all right? Okay, so you have this coil of copper wire, and so the electricity goes around this way, and it produces a magnetic field. Remember electromagnetism? Okay, so producing a magnetic field through these rods. And that magnetic field induces an electric field in the ring, I'm going to put down here. And then that electric field actually produces a magnetic field in opposition to this magnetic field. And so that what makes the ring fly.
Did we test it first?
We didn't, but we're going to do it right now. Here we go. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, let's try again. So we didn't test it. We should have tested it. What did we do wrong?
It's never done that before.
No, it's never done that before. Well, we should have tested. Let's try it with the light bulb. See if we can get a light to go through. Well, turn the light bulb on. Let's try it again. That is very puzzling, isn't it?
Sometimes it can go 30 feet up in the air. That's why I was a bit concerned. I don't want it to go. There we go.
There we go. I don't know what happened there. Okay? And so that's a demonstration of Lenz's law. That's electromagnetism.
I'm going to try to hold it down and not let it go up. We often have someone come up and volunteer, but what happens is all that energy is making that very, very hot, and I can't touch it anymore because the energy was not released.
So that's a demonstration of the first law of thermodynamics. Since she's holding it down, the energy has to go somewhere, so now it goes into heat instead of flying up into the air.
If I have this magnet, you'll see what happens to the magnet.
The magnet will react to the magnetic field. See?
And if I hold it in my hand, sometimes we'll have the children come to it as well, but we're trying to get through. The kids will jump because it's vibrating in their hand. Now,
Right. Okay, can you bring it out here?
yes, if we could have the lights, if someone could turn the lights off. Let's see. Here's these, George.
Yep. Okay, so what I'm going to do, we have this Odin coil, and the Odin coil takes the house voltage and transforms it to 50,000 volts. I'm going to go ground myself on the seats here, and so I'm going to have,
All of them, yep.
I'm going to have the current run through my body here. Oh. Okay, there we go.
Is that affecting anything in the room?
So, too late now. I was in a school once, and we used a Van de Graaff generator, and I wiped out the school's telephone and computer system.
Is that cool?
Okay, now we're gonna have this. We're going to
We're going to try to light a light bulb
light
now.
a light bulb through my body here. Okay.
I often ask him if it hurts, and he says, sometimes.
You see it's starting to light up. See the electromagnetic field? Okay, and then I'll put here. I light the light bulb with through my body like this.
Now, what we like to do with the children then is we like to tell them, you can turn the lights back on, please. We like to just mention that if you're in a lightning storm, the best position that you should be in is keep your feet together and crouch down as low as you can. Okay, when I was your age, they told me to lay flat on the ground, and that is the worst thing to do because if the lightning hits the ground, it'll go through your whole body. Whereas if you go like this, if it hits near you, it would just go up around the outside of your body. Okay, so you all remember that one
So
day.
I tell them if this saves their life someday, that they have to name their firstborn child George, since that's my name. All right.
Okay, so on that first day now, remember when God said, let there be light, what are we going to tell someone that says, well, sun wasn't created till day 4? What did he create on day 1?
The
The electromagnetic
spectrum.
spectrum. Okay, can you all say that with me? Electromagnetic spectrum.
And let me just mention for the adults, if you think about it, matter, atoms, there's electrons that are moving. You have moving electrons, you have a magnetic field. So you can see that God always puts things in the right order. You have to create electromagnetism before you can create matter. One has to go before the other. Okay.
Because now on the second day, God separated the water beneath the sky into oceans and rivers and lakes, and he made the sky with its clouds. Now, some people say they don't believe in something if they can't see it. So they say, I don't believe in God because I can't see him. But I want all of you to take a big breath with me right now. Did you see what you just breathed in? No, but what was it? It was air, right? So we believe it's there because we wouldn't be alive if we didn't believe in it. So that argument about not believing in a God because we can't see him, that doesn't hold any water at all. So Dr. Masco has a couple demonstrations now to talk about air and air pressure.
Okay, so this is called a Har bottle, and it's just a glass bottle with a balloon in it and an opening at the bottom. And I can blow it up, and you see the balloon stays blown up. You can actually see the inside of the balloon, see? See the inside? You ever see the inside of a balloon? It's kind of like tying balloons off. It's a lot of bother, so we'll just leave them blown up like that. So what causes the balloon to stay blown up? Well, it's that part of God's unseen creation. It's the air that's above us. There's about 8 miles of air that's pushing down on us all the time. And so that air can only push down on the inside of the balloon because the outside of the balloon is covered by glass. Okay, now there's a little bit here that's showing. That's not a whole lot of area compared to the inside area of the balloon. And so it stays blown up there because the air is only pushing on the inside of the balloon. And so you may have seen these pressure discs. Sometimes they call these suction cups, and I shudder to say such a word because there is no such thing as suction. Suction doesn't exist, all right? That's a figment of your imagination. This is because of air pressure. And so what I can do is put those two together like this, and I flip the levers, and that pushes all the air out from in between them. And then we try to pull them apart. Anybody think they can pull it apart? Any strong young men think they can pull it apart? Here, you think? Try it. Come on. Try it. Okay, don't twist it. Just pull. And so I calculated the area and how much air pressure is there, and we're going to get at least 200 pounds from these based on the size and all. And so again, in a school setting, I would have them do the calculation and so forth to figure out, and then we'd find somebody close to that weight and see if we could
So
we
how
could
about
lift them up.
Xander? Maybe Xander would come. Do you want us to try to pick you up with these? Do you want to stand and hold on to it? Come stand here. You're going to have to hold. You just stand there. Put both hands on it.
Let's see if we can pick
Put
you up.
both hands. Can you put both hands on there? I'm going to try to pick.
See if I
Look at me, picked you up. Good job.
Well, that part of God's unseen creation is really strong, isn't it?
Now we have another demonstration about air pressure. And we're going to take a vote, okay? Dr. Masco is going to blow this orange balloon up really, really big. And I'm going to blow mine up really, really small.
You have to have a lot of air to be a teacher. Hot air. Okay, here we go.
We're going to put them on a tube, and we're going to take one clip off, and then we're going to take a vote what happens when we take the second clip off.
Okay, let's take this one
So
off.
we have the orange balloon up here, okay? Now when I take this clip off the green balloon, is the orange balloon going to get smaller and the green balloon get bigger? Or is the green balloon going to get bigger, smaller?
You get
I know, I just
turn
said it.
around.
Smaller, green balloon smaller, orange balloon
Bigger. Right? Or will nothing happen, which happens in my demonstrations a lot. Okay, so here we'll have you vote. Okay, number one, the green balloon will get smaller.
No, bigger.
Oh,
I said
bigger.
bigger.
The green balloon will get bigger, and the orange balloon will get smaller. How many think that's going to happen? Number one. Okay. Okay. How many think the green balloon's going to get smaller and the orange balloon's going to get bigger? Okay, got a couple there. How many think nothing will happen? Okay,
How many don't think?
How many
No.
don't think? All right, raise your hand. Come on, you don't think. All right, here we go.
Okay, now keep your eye on the green balloon. This is, okay, everyone watch the green balloon to see what's going to happen. Now I turned it. Do you think it would make a difference if I held it this way or this way? No. Okay, there we go.
And you see the green balloon gets smaller, And so how many voted for that? The green balloon got smaller. Okay, give yourself a hand there. Go. Okay, so the question is why? Why is that the case? Anybody tell me why that's the case? Yes? The air pressure. Well, obviously the air pressure. No, not the atmosphere. It doesn't have to do, because the atmosphere is pushing on both of them. So not the atmosphere. Anybody else have an idea of what causes that? Okay, so think about this. Here's a push pin, all right? And I put the push pin and I push down on it. What's going to happen if I push down on it? It's going to be ouch. Yeah, ouch. It's going to be ouch. Okay, but the ouch is going to be on my thumb, right? It's not going to be on my finger. The ouch is going to be on my thumb. Why is that? Because it has to do with the area. So the lower the area, the smaller the area, the higher the pressure. So pressure is equal to force per unit area. Okay, so you're dividing by area. So the smaller the area, the higher the pressure. Okay, so the balloon that was smaller has the higher pressure, and the balloon that's bigger has a lower pressure. And you know that's true. When you blow up balloons for a birthday party or whatever, the hardest time to blow up a balloon is when you first start, right? When it's a little balloon, you have to stretch it and all that kind of thing. You're trying to make the area bigger so the pressure is less.
Okay, so that's air. Now could you please talk about water? You can stay right here and
Okay.
talk about water. Water is such a unique chemical. You know, most people think water is just kind of blah, but would you please tell us about the 3 states of water?
Okay, so if you think about water, we call it the miracle chemical because water exists at all 3 states of matter, as a gas, which we call steam, and as the liquid, and as the solid that we call ice, okay? And exist all those at the pressures and temperatures of the earth. There's no other chemical like that exists at those 3 temperatures and at those temperatures and pressures. Now when we think about ice, one of the amazing things about ice is that ice floats. Now we all know that's true. Now think what would happen if ice didn't float. Think what would happen if if lakes and streams actually froze from the bottom up. What would happen to all the fish?
Die.
They'd all die, wouldn't they? And God has designed ice so that it floats on top and forms an insulating layer over lakes and rivers, so forth, to keep all the aquatic life alive. Now this is a little demonstration I thought you'd find interesting. And here's some beads. You can see you have the white beads floating here and the blue beads floating here. And I just got this demonstration yesterday. I've never done this before. So let's go ahead and shake it up and see what happens. When I shake it up, you'll notice that the white beads go to the top, just like the ice does, and the blue beads go down to the bottom. Now, if you watch it carefully, you'll see that in time, the white beads will start moving down and the blue beads will start moving up. Okay, and so we could use that as a demonstration of density. Okay, how ice is less dense than water. Well, sometimes we're in places, when we were in Australia, we were in places where people had not seen snow. And so I thought I'd make them some snow. So I have some special snow powder. And this special snow powder is called sodium polyacrylate. Okay? It's a material we would call hydrophilic, which means water loving. Hydro is water, philic is loving, from the Greek word philos. Right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to add some water. Oh, I want them to be able to see that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I put that there so they could see
I just
it.
want them to see the snow.
Yeah, but they need to watch that too.
Okay.
That's all right. We've never done this one before, so I'm going to put it on here. And I'm going to add some water to it. Okay, and you'll be able to see my artificial snow form. See? So we have nice fluffy snow here. They actually use this to make artificial snow places like Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, where it's too hot and they can ski on it and so forth, so it's nice and slippery. Okay?
But we have a use for it in the house that we're staying in right now, something that needs to absorb a lot of water.
Yeah, something that Nadia uses a lot.
Diapers.
Right. So we use sodium polyacrylate, or at least a similar chemical they have a cross-link differently, so it turns into a gel rather than into this. You can imagine that'd be a problem for diapers. But,
We need to keep moving.
okay.
We'll put this outside after church, and the kids can feel it, because it actually feels cool. Cold, sort of.
Yes, it's
Okay.
cool and cold both.
Okay. Now, so we talk about unseen properties. Another unseen property that is revealed in science is the fact that water has an unusually high surface tension. Does that mean anything to you guys? It means that water is sticky. Did you know that water's sticky? Most people didn't have any idea that water's sticky, but there's a real good reason, a couple reasons that it's a good thing that water is sticky. But first of all, we're going to demonstrate that by...
This is one of my favorite things, throwing things at my wife. Okay. This is a plastic ball that just has water in it, and the water's sticky, so it comes back to a round shape.
I have to admit that one time I tried it with my husband and I accidentally missed.
When we think about the stickiness of water,
Yeah, go to the next, look at the next slide.
oh, well, you can do that. Yeah, that's fine.
Yes. It's very important for plants to have that stickiness so that it can get the water up through the roots, all those tiny roots
Right.
there.
So as the water evaporates from the leaves, it pulls other water molecules with it through the roots, okay? And so plants would not be able to live without that stickiness. Those of you who are older, you know about hydrogen bonding and so forth and polarity, but that's the property that we're talking about now. And the same with human beings. You want to do human
Yeah.
beings there, okay? And so we have little capillaries, and blood's mostly water. And so because of the stickiness of water, it can go all throughout our bodies. And then look at the next one. And you know about these little bugs that can skate on the water. When I was a kid, we used to try to put paper clips on top of the water. Ever do that and see if you could bounce a paper clip? So maybe I was just strange. I don't know. Okay. I was definitely a science nerd. Okay, so I have a screened bottle here. This is just a bottle with a, what do they call these bottles?
Mason jar.
Mason jar. Mason jar
With screen.
has screening on it. And so I'm going to fill it full of water. I just want to demonstrate the stickiness of water.
Just need to keep moving fast, okay?
Okay, got it over here. And then
All
I'm
the way
going
full?
to fill it full. And I'm going to turn it upside down and pull the card off. And you can see the water in there. See the water in there? You've been wet before, haven't you? See? See? Okay. And so what keeps the water in the jar? The surface tension. Sticky. That's right. It's sticky. It's actually sticking to the fly screen in there. That's what keeping
Can you
in
dump it
there.
in that one?
And
The measuring cup.
and I can if I turn it sideways, I can let a little air in there, and the water comes right out again. So you can see the stickiness of water. So this is something you can try at home. Kids.
You can go to the next slide.
Hold
please.
it over your parents while they're in bed. That'd be good.
Okay, let's go on to the next unusual, unseen property of water, and that's the ability to absorb heat. You see on the globe there, is there more land or water? Water, and the Earth is the only planet that has this much water. No other planet does. And we need to have that much water so that we can exist on this Earth. And Dr. Matsko has a couple of demonstrations to show this unseen property of the ability of water. Is this back to normal?
Yep.
This
back.
one?
Yep.
Did you all see that?
It's a very windy place.
Oh, we do
down
need
here.
a volunteer. Someone up close. Would you like to volunteer, Emma? Do you want to volunteer, Reagan? Okay, you come on up.
Where's the balloon?
It's underneath.
Oh, there you
Okay, this is. Are you sure? Do you know? Remember what
go.
happens?
What I want to do is take the balloon in your hands and lower it over the flame, real slowly.
She knows what happens because we went to her school on Tuesday.
Okay. Oop, there you go. Okay. Okay. So lower it down over the flame.
A little lower.
Good job. Comes to blowing up balloons, you're great. All right.
Okay, kids, look at this one. What's in here? Water. Has anybody not been wet before? Anybody want to come get wet? You want to come get wet? No? No volunteers? Okay, come on up. Oh, look at it blowing. How come it's...
Air conditioning. It's called air conditioning. If we can find a place where the air is not blowing on it. So if you want to sit right here in front. Yeah, okay. Yeah, just sit down. Kneel down. And that way, if it breaks, you'll get all wet. Won't that be interesting? You think it'll break? What's it look like?
Can you see what's happening? What's happening? It's turning black, isn't it, on there, on the bottom?
See? See, and I could actually hold this until the water boiled in the balloon. Okay? Because why? Water has a high heat capacity. It can absorb the heat faster than the candle can put it out.
Thank you, Emma.
Okay? Thank you very much.
Here you go. You go do the next one. Now we have a couple other demonstrations. These are kind of a little bit more exciting, but when you pop a balloon like that, can't get more exciting than that, can you?
Yep. So I have a solution of isopropyl alcohol and salt water. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this rag on fire. People say, how do you know if you're a success in these kinds of presentations? They say if the fire department doesn't come.
Now, someone in California warned us that you're not allowed to have open fires, but we haven't been turned in yet. Wow. Now, if you see it's that the rag is made out of cloth, and if you really believe that the water is absorbing all the heat, someone out there that has a dollar bill might be willing, or even a 20, might be willing to let us try it. Anybody out there have any bills?
So the way this works is that the alcohol burns, but the water actually absorbs the heat faster than the alcohol can put it out. And I use salt water because it's the sodium line. The sodium actually makes it look yellow, so it makes it look hotter than
I don't think Lisa needs this back, so you can try it.
All right, here we go.
We actually had a kid in chapel one place gave us a 50. Very trusting.
Let's see if we can get this to go.
We call this money laundering.
It's
very clean now. Okay, now if I really trust my husband in this property, if I really trust God that water has a high heat capacity, I'm willing to put fire in my hand. And oftentimes we'll have people come up and do this.
So she's wet her hand to protect it.
What we thought we'd do is do this at the picnic.
Oh yeah, set people on fire. That'd be great.
Oh, I'm saved.
It's it's all the air conditioning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You want to do it again?
Well, I guess so. That was pretty dramatic. It was on top and bottom. And
okay.
Where's the air conditioning coming from? I think we need a new lighter.
No, it's just the air conditioning blowing it. There we go.
Wow, I've never had a...
We've never
Anyway,
done air conditioning.
We'll do that at the picnic, okay? Okay, now we're up to the third day of creation. We better keep moving so we can get through most of these days. Do we have the third picture up there?
Yep.
Yes, the mountains. Okay, so in Genesis 1, 9 through 13, we read about that third day when God caused the dry land to bulge up out of the waters and form the mountains and hills and deserts. And then God covered the land with plants and trees and bushes. And Dr. Matsko has a special demonstration here making oxygen.
Oxygen.
Right?
Yes, so God creates the land and then he puts vegetation on it. And the vegetation is important because it produces the oxygen that we need to breathe. And so you have to have the plants created before the animals. And so I can't create oxygen like plants can, That's very complicated, but I'm going to do it a different way. I'm going to use hydrogen peroxide. So here's some hydrogen peroxide. It's a little bit stronger than what you have in your medicine cabinet. So hydrogen peroxide is just a water molecule, has an extra oxygen on it. And then I'm going to put some detergent in it so you can see the oxygen when it's made.
Let's just pull it back a little bit.
All right, my wife's always afraid I'm going to destroy something. All right, here we go. So I'm going to add a catalyst, okay? Catalysts are materials that make reactions go at lower temperatures. Okay, we have catalysts in our bodies called enzymes that help us digest our food, so we don't have to run around with a big fire in our stomachs all the time. So we're producing oxygen with this hydrogen peroxide.
See the steam up here coming off the heat? I mean,
We can take a wood splint in there. You can see it flare up because that's all oxygen that's being produced by the hydrogen peroxide. Catalyst is potassium iodide. That's why you get that yellow color, because it's turning from potassium iodide into iodine. Okay?
now could you talk about what's in the dirt? For me?
Okay, so when we think about God creating the land, we think about all the things God created in the land. So kids, can you think of any minerals or chemicals that God created in the land? Can you think of anything? Any minerals? How about like silica? Or what? Silver? Diamonds?
What's a really very precious metal? Gold, that's
Yeah.
right. That's what we want, because Dr. Matsko has a really special demonstration where he's going to take a pre-1982 copper penny and turn it into gold.
Well, actually, I heated this up just before Sunday school started, and I actually turned these pennies into silver. You want
Oh, yes.
to pass those
No, I'm
around?
not sure if they can pass it around. It almost looks like a dime. Can you see that?
So this
Maybe
is
we
an
can-
old alchemist trick. Back before there was chemistry, there was alchemists, and they would go from town to town and pretend to change base metals into gold and hopefully get out of town before they figured out that they actually weren't, okay? So these look like silver pennies, but actually the zinc is actually plated out on the penny. I thought maybe,
We'll put these out at the table,
okay.
at the Bob Jones table out there. We have a lot of literature. Feel free to help yourself, too.
Okay, so what they would do then is we can
You have to-
heat it up and turn it into something that looks like gold. So you chemists out there, if you if you amalgamate zinc with copper, what do you get? Somebody know? Shout it out. Zinc and copper give us,
I don't think there's any chemists out there.
okay, you get nice, shiny gold penny. So brass, that's right, it's brass.
Now, if this was really gold, we wouldn't be here. We'd be doing something else. Let's see.
Okay. There we
Okay, but we'll put those out at the table. You'll be able to see them. They're quite nice.
So-
Okay.
Do we have time to tell them about the Chinese emperor real fast?
Yes, real fast.
Okay, so there was an alchemist that went
No,
to
actually, yeah, go ahead.
there was an alchemist that went to the Chinese emperor's court. Actually, this happened a couple times, and I can't pronounce the emperor's name. But anyway, gold was considered to be a symbol or had the property of eternal life, because if you took gold and stuck it in the ground for 1,000 years and dug it back up again, it'd still be bright and shiny and new. And so they figured that it contained the principle of eternal life. So this alchemist told the Chinese emperor, I can help you live forever. And so what he did is he took mercury, which is a liquid metal, and he mixed egg yolk in it to make it turn yellow. So it was like liquid gold, and had the emperor drink that. And over the period of time, it killed him dead as a doornail. But after he died, the mercury killed all the bacteria in his body too. So his body didn't decompose as quickly. Okay, so they thought they were on the right track. Okay, because his body didn't decay. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, now we're up to the fourth day of creation. This program can actually take up to an hour, so we're just trying to, and I think everyone should see all the demonstrations. My husband says, well, they won't know what they missed, but I do. Anyway, fourth day of creation, that's when God created the sun, moon, and stars. Do you know how far away the sun is? 93 million miles. And I can't even imagine how far away a million is. So I asked my husband, could you do some math and tell me, if I got in my car and I drove 60 miles an hour, how long would it take me to drive to the sun? And he did the calculation. That's why math is really important, okay, kids? Study math really hard. 177 years it would take me to drive there. Although he thinks that I would...
She'd probably stop for a potty break.
Oh, no, I thought you said I'd drive faster.
Okay,
I would drive faster. Okay, so what we want to do now is demonstrate
the sun
and
gives
the
off
energy.
and we use that energy to make electricity. So I have a little energy tube here. Here, let's put your finger in the...
Show it's a conductor. Okay.
Okay, and we're
This is when we make a complete circuit, you're going to see some color lights and some noise.
Okay, or I can...
But this is my favorite. Okay. Here's this.
When we think of light, we think of the fact that materials bend light, transparent materials bend light. We call that refractive index. And for a coincidence is that vegetable oil has the same refractive index as Pyrex glass. So you'll notice when I put the test tube in here, it'll disappear because it bends the light by the same amount. So watch. See? See, it disappears. I had a little boy in one class ask me to slather him with vegetable oil so he could have an invisibility cloak.
Could we have the lights again, really fast?
Okay, so we can use light, the refractive index, to send information all through the oceans and around the world. Data, you can see the light tube here. You can see the laser going through the light tube. And so we use materials with different refractive indices to to bend the light back into the tube so it can travel along the tube. Now while we got the light off,
There's
would you mind
Mrs.
if you
Erickson
just-
there. Yeah,
if
somebody.
put your hand out, your diamond there. Let me.
We're going to see if it's really real. Look up at the ceiling.
See that? Okay, we can have the lights again. Thank you. So you can see that we prize diamonds because they have the highest refractive index of any transparent material we have. And so refractive index is very romantic.
And then what we would do is we'd talk about the moon. Dr. Masco would explain all the different ways the secular scientists think the moon got here. But of course, we know God created the moon on day 4. Then we would talk about the stars as well. Oh, you wanted to show them how the moon and Earth hang on nothing. When we see the pictures up here, they're hanging on nothing. And so he likes to do this centripetal force demonstration. And again, you all have been wet, right?
Here we go. Have a cup of water. Good catch.
That's the second time that's happened.
Oh, I dipped it in again.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
See, he dipped the cup in so the water was wet on the bottom, and it slid right off the platform. You didn't learn your lesson. Oh, well, okay. Well, I won't remind you about that. So then we go on to the stars. We talk.
She'll never forget. She'll never forget.
Okay, then we talk about the stars and how the stars are without number, and Dr. Masco will talk about that in the morning message. Then we go on to day 5 when God created the sea creatures and birds. Day 6, God created the land animals, and best of all, he created people. And of all the creatures that God created, man was the only one that could talk to God and love God and had a spirit that would never die. And after God created everything, he looked at it and it was very good. And so then we give the gospel out. We talk about how some people think you can get to heaven other ways. So what are some of the other ways? Well, being good, giving money, going to church. And so when we talk about being good, then I often share my testimony because that's how I was raised. My parents were not Christians. We went to a church that just said, be good, you'll go to heaven. Well, how do you know if you're good? Well, I tried to be really good. But when I went away to college, fortunately, my parents did not have alcohol in our home because neither of them were raised in their own homes because of alcohol. It destroyed both of their homes, and they ended up in different, foster care and whatnot. So I'm very thankful for that. So when I went away to a state college to have fun, you had to go to parties where they had alcohol. But I was not comfortable because of my upbringing. And plus it was drinking age was 21, and so I wanted to be good, so I wasn't going to break, the law. But in New York State, which was only 40 minutes away from Pennsylvania, people would go up there and drink and drive home and have accidents. In one weekend, a carload of people that I could have been in, they were my friends, had an accident and they were all killed. And I thought, what would have happened if I would have been in that car? What happened to them? Where'd they go? Why am I even here? How did I get here? What's my purpose of being here? All those questions. And I never heard the gospel that I can remember. Maybe people witnessed to me and I just never understood it because I was blinded. But my roommate gave me a tract, and it was God's 4 Spiritual Laws, and I read that tract, and for the first time, I read the gospel, and I prayed that prayer, and that's how I got saved. So I like to share my testimony. And in closing, I'm going to let Dr. Masco finish it off. What our purpose of the program?
So when I was, a primary age child, we had a release time school program at my school, and a scientist came, and he believed the Bible. I don't remember what his name was, I don't remember what he said, but the fact that there was a scientist who believed the Bible got me all the way through public school, as far as my faith not being destroyed, by the science classes I was in. And that's what I want to do for these kids in a program like this. I want them to understand that you can be a scientist and you can believe the Bible at the same time. The two are not mutually exclusive. So kids, when we look at the Bible, we say that it's not a textbook of science. It wasn't designed to be a textbook of science. But everything the Bible says about science is true. You can depend upon it. Even the order of creation, God did it in just the right order, scientifically. And so you can have confidence that the Bible is true, even though sometimes people say there's conflicts with the Bible and science. It's not true at all. The Bible and science don't conflict with each other. It's just people's interpretation of the science that make it seem like it conflicts. Okay? So thank you.
Yep.